My son Rowan, who is 9, has osteogenesis.
Malia, she's 10 and she has severe OI.
What hereditary link do they have to OI?
He was a spontaneous mutation.
There's no history in the family.
That's what the spontaneous mutation means. It's just happened with her as her egg developed.
I've had 4 children in 5 years, and 2 of them both had osteogenesis imperfecta.
Because I've got brittle bones, we knew that the likelihood of having a brittle bone baby was quite high.
I've grown up knowing that I had OI.
I went to go see the fetal medicine unit at the LGI in Leeds. She ruled out brittle bones straight away because she said that you couldn't tell from an ultrasound, which is wrong.
It's a rare disease, and there are many, many healthcare officials out there who have never come across osteogenesis imperfecta.
They then had us back every week, gave us a different diagnosis every week.
How do you feel about the way the diagnosis was explained to you?
The way the diagnosis was explained was absolutely fine.
When she was born and they did the hip check, they broke her leg.
When he was being examined by the paediatrician afterwards, he noticed that he had a broken clavicle.
Because we're in Sheffield and that's where Professor Bishop is, we were very lucky in that we had that diagnosis straight away because a lot of parents don't.
He wasn't diagnosed officially until he was 6 weeks.
16 or 17 weeks.
And then we were referred to Sheffield to Professor Bishop.
How did you feel about the initial diagnosis?
Disbelief. How dare you tell me that my child has this after so many different diagnoses?
It was a horrible experience.
I have osteogenesis imperfecta myself. I wasn't told as someone that didn't know what I was getting into.
He walked into the room and just said, "Show me his face." And he just said, "Okay, he has brittle bones. He's never going to be able to walk. He will just about be able to feed himself."
I'd rung the whole family and told them the great news that we'd had a daughter. And within 40 minutes, the whole of the medical team there, led by the Chief of Staff, told me the news that our daughter had very severe OI, explained what OI was, and told us that it probably was extremely serious, take lots of photos, and they didn't think she was going to survive.
So obviously as parents, you're just standing there with your mouth open.
I was much more shocked than what I thought.
In the initial stages, we thought everything was terrible and a very black picture was painted.
They told us she was going to die, basically, that she wasn't going to grow enough, that her ribcage was going to confine her breathing when she was born and that she would suffocate. And it was a terrible time. It was really, really awful.
We carried her around for the first 6 months, can you believe it sounds crazy now, on a pillow, because no one could tell us actually how to handle her.
And we even got bad advice in Crumlin. The physio told us that, we should have him sitting up to strengthen his back. Now, that goes against your instinct because he's 6 weeks old. Who sits up a 6-week-old baby? But, you think this person's the expert, so you listen. I've learned since that a lot of people think they're experts and they're not.
It's hard because when you read things on Google, it doesn't give you the truth of it. It just gives you like the worst case scenario. We thought we were never even going to be able to hug her. But once you get the experts telling you rather than just Googling it, it made things a lot easier. We decided to give her the odds rather than the doctors, and she grew enough that they kind of had to eat their words when she was born, which was great, and I'd love to find them now and show her and say, well, look how she's thriving.
He's proved everybody wrong. It's his dream to go to that doctor in Dublin and kind of do a dance in front of him.
If you'd have told us then that she could go through school, that she would be an intelligent, she would be a funny, she would be a joy to be with and to go through education, university, end up working, now living on her own at the age of 25, we would have been stunned.
I'm married, I drive, I run my own business, I live in a nice house.
What were the challenges when preparing to start nursery?
It was suggested to us that at a very early age of 2.5 years old, that she needed the mental stimulation because she was bright and needed to go to a nursery school and mix with a peer group.
All you can do is support the child as much as possible when we are there, so just treat them as normally as you can.
So when it comes to the generic care they offer, it's not really suitable. We've managed to secure a place in a local infant school with a one-to-one funded by the local health authority.
But it was still a very scary time. In fact, I have to admit that when they first started at this nursery, I actually stayed on the premises.
What impact is there on siblings, and how do you ensure other siblings don't feel left out?
how can I possibly make it balanced, because it's not, they're so different.
It's juggling it up that you can't just excuse a behaviour because of her bones, and you can't tell them off more because they put her in more danger, that kind of thing. It can be a bit tricky sometimes.
It can be difficult for those siblings that are not affected.
My eldest, he was fine up until maybe when he got to about 10, and then he started to not so much resent Rowan himself, but resent the condition. You know, me being away and taking him to hospital and not getting as much attention as that. But that's totally changed.
But at the same time, you also have to cater for those children who aren't disabled.
We had a second child. I don't think she suffered at all. I think she is a very caring, very understanding adult.
And I think you'll find that with all families that have one disabled child and then they have siblings, those siblings will have a sensitivity that they won't even grasp.
And I have a 4-year-old son as well, Leon. So he wants to have brittle bones because he thinks it's really cool. He hasn't seen the negative side because Rowan very rarely fractures anything major now. It's just toes and fingers, which don't really count. I get in trouble from other parents who have non-OI children for that. Like, what do you mean you don't bring them to hospital for toes and fingers? It's like, you've never spent 6 hours in A&E.
How does it work with the extended family?
It became a little bit hard to explain to everybody constantly, all the time, the updates that she was having in how she was. So whether she could walk or not, how to hold her, different things like that.
How important is a time with your hospital and healthcare staff?
The physio come and visit her at home.
We're trying to pull it together so that he wasn't seeing different people at different times and make the number of appointments a bit less.
And they constantly go into school and liaise with their PE teachers to make sure that she can be included.
What are the high points been and what are the low points been?
Watching the disappointment in Rowan's face of not being able to do things. And it's hard as a mum to watch your child, you know, kind of being left out of things. Not on purpose, but because just, you know, contact sports, can't play it.
I think probably the worst time is when the girls were babies and they couldn't say what was wrong.
Other than that, there's been very few lows. You know, it's always been very positive, and he's a very positive person.
She wants to be a Paralympian.
So how do you feel the Brittle Bone Society can help other parents get through this maze that you went through?
BBS for me is a lifeline information that isn't readily available anywhere else.
They have helped in school, sending information out to the teachers.
We found the BBS an incredible help. It was exactly what we needed.
We only joined the Brittle Bone Society about 4 years ago. Before that, we were incredibly isolated.
We knew nothing. We contacted the BBS and immediately felt valued, felt comforted, felt supported.
We went to our first conference. It was just Rowan and myself who went. And he was just so happy being around other kids, not being the different one.
It makes me feel less different because I'm looking at people that have the same struggles that I do.
I can't speak highly enough of the way that they treat new parents and help them through very, very difficult times.
We would not be able to have afforded the wheelchairs that she needs on her own. They'll help us with anything that we need to.
2 years ago, I became a volunteer support worker for the Brittle Bone Society. We do social things, we meet, have coffee mornings, I organised a Christmas party. There was a lot of people at that who'd never been to anything and who'd never had any social interaction with other OI families, and it was an eye-opener to them. They were like, this is brilliant.
I've talked to friends and they don't know what it's like having a child with OI. They don't understand that James needs to sleep more because he gets tired when he's running about.
So it's been the best day you've ever had, it becomes the worst day you've ever had. And sometimes you want to pick up the phone, you want to talk to someone and say, you'll never guess, and share something.
And I know that I'm speaking to people that understand what I and my family are going through.
Just having other people to talk to who understand, it has been amazing.
And I wish that I had tapped into it an awful lot earlier than I did.
We were totally independent people, and it was difficult at the beginning to admit that we didn't know what to do and we needed help and support.
Sometimes I worry that I'm supposed to know more about it all just because Millie is 10, and so I should have 10 years experience backing me up, but I don't always know everything about it.
Now having a child with brittle bones, it's in my interest to become health.
It's a very scary disease.
You think your hopes are taken away, you think all your dreams are taken away, and you need to totally rebuild and rejudge what you're going to do and how your family's going to be.
How much of that do you think actually came true?
Well, 25 years further on, I think I can quite happily say hardly any of that came true.
It's a huge change to your life, and having people who've gone through it before, who know the answers, instead of having to go through this gauntlet, you can gain experience from people who have done all this.
Can I say, with the right help and support, it's not as bad as you first think it's going to be, and you can get through this, and your child can have a happy, secure and fulfilled life. There's no doubt about that.